This evening we celebrate what is traditionally called Maundy Thursday, which is one of those funny terms that people hear a lot, but maybe don't know exactly what it means, and there's not a whole lot of mystery to it. Maundy is just simply an anglicized version of the Latin word mandatum, which means commandment. It is what we find in today's gospel, that Jesus Christ tells us that if I, who am your master and your teacher, have washed your feet, then you also must wash one another's. I have given you a model, so that as I have done for you, you should also do. Let's look at an interesting feature in today's gospel. I always like things that are balanced out, where we see a certain amount of harmony. And that's precisely what we find in today's gospel according to St. John. He tells us that Jesus Christ got up from the table, took off his outer garments, washed the disciples' feet, then he put back on his garments, and then went back and reclined at the table. What's interesting about this feature is the many things that it signifies. We can, on the one hand, understand this narrative as referring to the incarnation of Jesus Christ. That he took off his garments of glory and took flesh in the womb of the Blessed Virgin Mary and was born among us. And as the scriptures tell us, being human in form. And after completing the Paschal mystery, he ascends back to heaven and puts back on his garments of glory. But then we can also look at a further layer. And we can look at this as referring to the Paschal mystery itself. That Jesus Christ put on a human garment in the womb of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And in his death, he laid that garment aside. And as we say in the Creed, descended into hell. But on the third day, he rose again from the dead and put back on his garment of human flesh, this time in a glorified manner, and then began to show himself plainly to the apostles. But with regards to the mandatum, the command of Christ, we can also see something that applies to us in a very special, particular, and practical way. And it's the way we approach our love for one another. I'm not going to lie and pretend that there are not a couple, few classes of people. We all have them. Some are very, very easy to love. Others are very, very difficult to love. And then there's just a lot of people in between. And so if we were ever called to wash the feet of someone we love, we would drop everything and say, but of course. If it was someone that we found hard to love, we might look for a way to excuse ourselves from attending to any of their needs. And with regards to the people in between, well, we'd kind of put some thought to it. But at the end of the day, this isn't about who we find easy or difficult to love and those towards whom, we're fairly ambivalent. Jesus Christ gave us a command to love so that we would be more like God, who shows his kindness to all people. God shows his kindness to all people. That's why the particularly difficult commandments like loving one's enemies and praying for those who persecute almost seem incomprehensible until we stop to think that in doing so, we imitate God in his love for all the people he has made, all whom he desires to turn toward him and come to life. And so in imitation of Jesus Christ, as narrated beautifully by St. John, when we find ourselves in these difficult situations, we are given a choice. We can retreat to a place of selfishness and stay exactly where we are, or we can realize the grace of the moment in which God is calling us to imitate him in his kindness. And so it requires that we take off our garments of pride. We take off our garments of pride, and we die to ourselves and wash the other person's feet. And when we rise, we clothe ourselves anew with virtue, with holiness, with the very love of God himself.